Hi, my name is Vanessa, and I'm writing a horror novel in 2 years, allegedly. I'm a part of this program called the Book Project, and it's a 2-year program to get you as far into your manuscript as possible. We are week, I don't know, 7 or 8, technically, and here we are. In the depths of hell. I've been a TV writer for about 10 years. I'm mostly a TV writer. I've written on shows like How to Get Away with Murder, The Sandman, Fate the Winx Saga, and I've also developed anime projects. I'm not gonna be able to talk along today because I have homework to do. This week is about to be crazy. So we know that we are still a part of this 8-week Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. accountability, productivity, generative workshop course. So that's tomorrow because today is Sunday. And then we also have a cohort meeting with the book project cohort that I'm a part of, where we have homework. All I know is there's something about Cormac McCarthy on there that's gonna stress me out. And I'm also starting on Saturday a 4-week second person workshop because, for if you don't know, this literary horror novel that I'm writing is being told from the point of view of the monster of the story, and it's half memory as it's going back into the memory of the last person that it's eaten because it's suddenly dying, and it's like, what have you done to me? And the other half of it is kind of like its own retrospective thinking, and it's kind of talking to you or God or whoever. And I have no idea how to do that. I'm really excited. I think second person is one of those like no-nos, and I don't know much about it outside of I read a lot of fan fiction, so it doesn't seem as taboo to me. But because I'm loosely writing in a second person narration for some of my novel, I think it'll be super impactful for me to take this class and see what I don't know about it. My goal is to use the you, like it thinks it's talking to God, because like who else is it? It doesn't speak, so who else is it talking to but like God? But there is, in this perspective, it's not talking to God, it's talking to you. And so I want there to like be this weird bond that the monster forms with you, with God. And I don't know how to do that, and I don't know if that's possible, but I just want to see what the connection between the audience as you and a character interacting with you, like what can I do with that? That's happening on Saturday, which is Valentine's Day. Lovely, love starting a class on a holiday. So yeah, that's this week. It's a lot going on. So there's a huge thing that this week brought to me. It's not anything new, but it's a continuation from what I learned last week, which was my creativity struggles and like just needing to revamp that part of my life. This week, I went a step further and continued on with something that really hit home last week, which was handwriting. Discovering handwriting as a huge part of this journey for this novel. But it's kind of become the key in me not saying I'm gonna throw my fucking laptop out of the window, fuck all this shit, fuck this shit, I'm not doing none of this shit. It has been so great to find that writing a handwritten manuscript is kind of lit. Like, so many of my professors and other students and teachers and writers and whatever talk about writing by hand. No shade if this is you, no shade. I thought y'all was just being dramatic. I thought y'all was just trying to like do something. Like, I thought y'all was just trying to tap into like a 1826 kind of feeling. And I handwrite, I journal, like I've handwritten, I've written letters to friends, but it was something about like, I handwrite that my ego was just like, they're being dramatic. There's no fucking way. Way, bitch! This is my new notebook that I got for this novel. It's a 300-page notebook, so technically about the length of the novel, hopefully. I love the size of the pages. I love that it's spiral. It is going to be my new manuscript notebook. So this is kind of the new Bible of my life. And it just came last week. I actually started writing in this. This is like the notebook that I have. Like I said, I'm a writer. I have a bunch of different writing jobs and gigs. And so when I take meetings and shit, I just like write it all down here. So this was what I used last week to just jot things down before I got this book. So I really wanted to talk about that this week because this was my first week that I kind of just went full force into like, let's just do it. We did not really touch the laptop this week when it came to writing. So let's talk about the process. For me, the process of handwriting and why it's become kind of really beneficial, and it's kind of changed my relationship with writing. So like I said, I'm a TV writer. Even before that, I wrote prose growing up as a kid. And at some point, I was handwriting, obviously, because according to kids, I was born in the 1900s, which is giving very much ancient. There was a limited time before I had access to a laptop because that wasn't a thing. So I was handwriting, and like that, it's not like I've never handwritten in my life. But I remember the first laptop we got as a kid, because my dad was in tech and like IT, so we always got access to technology very early. We had this thick ass laptop that he brought home from my mom. We had I forgot what came first, the desktop in our house or the laptop, but I just remember when I got access to the laptop, typing on the computer on a floppy disk. Like, damn, that's crazy. And it was very early where I switched over to writing on the computer. And I remember handwriting. I still hand wrote for journals, and I think I still hand wrote because it wasn't like now where a laptop or an iPad or whatever the fuck is like always right there. It wasn't like my thing. It was still a family laptop. It was still a family computer. But there was a switch. And kind of from there, that's all I remember writing with. And then obviously going into screenwriting into college, you're not writing a script by hand. Like, I think now that is way before my time. By the time I got into screenwriting into college, like, you're using a software. So it's been a very long time since I discovered the joy of writing by hand narratively. The discovery that I loved handwriting was a little happy accident, and that was one of the first weeks of this generative Monday, Wednesday, Friday course. I didn't have that much time. I didn't feel like opening up my laptop, and so I just like opened up my notebook that I use just like for note taking and shit in meetings and shit like that. And I just said, I'm just gonna write the last chapter. We're given a prompt by the teacher like we do every single day. And the prompt was paradise, and I wanted to write this final chapter from the monster's perspective and like this beautiful thing. Because in my mind, I was like, this is a throwaway piece of thing. Like, let me just get something down. And it flew out so easily, and I thought it was really beautiful, and it was so fun. It wasn't until last week when we really got into that whole creativity practice, and I thought about what my practice was missing, and I thought about how I've been enjoying journaling, and I thought about how I don't want to write on my laptop. Maybe we should just try handwriting again. That I opened up that notebook again, and I just said, let me just try to write out one of the chapters here. And that's how it began. So process-wise, here's where I'm at. I don't have these hung up because seeing note cards hung up stresses me out. I can't have these taped up because it's gonna like give me a panic attack. I've handwritten out, and like normally when I start writing, I sit on the floor and I put out the note cards that I have. I will talk about like the flow of a nonlinear story later, I guess. But I have my note cards. I have my general structure. I wrote these all out by hand. On the front of the card, I have the beat. And then on the back of the card, I have the intention of the beat. Why is it there? X, Y, Z, A, B, C. So handwriting is not anything new. This is how I've begun charting out the actual story. I've note carded it out. I've written on the back of the note card the intentions, and that's where I've been at. And I thought from there, I would sit at my laptop and I would type out each of these chapters and we'd see where we go from there. No. So this last week, as I was struggling to write, let me just try to write one of these chapters out by hand. And that cracked it open. Things came out easy. Not easy as far as like I've hit flow. It just kind of happened. Like the emotion and the feeling that I had writing by hand felt much more natural and not seamless, but it just felt more impactful and intentional, and I felt one with my craft. Now, this could be because I was in conjunction with that Wonder Book thing that I told you about last week, and I was working on like this imagination practice, and I'm working on revamping my creative practice. But it was just something about discovering a new way to work with my writing and sitting down with the notebook away from my laptop, not having to look at this shit, that really kind of helped ground me into the practice. I pulled like little quotes and like I tried to look at articles. There's a really popular one that I can't really get access to because it's like a journal, like scientific review journal. but it's on the art of handwriting and why it's kind of an impactful thing, because I was genuinely curious. One of the Paris Review interviews, author Susan Sontag said, I write my first drafts in longhand. I think it slows me down in a useful way. I came up with 3 different reasons as to why I felt like it's been very helpful to me. And I've found quotes-ish from the, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have time to read 20-page like scientific journals, so I pulled from smaller articles that reference those journals that kind of gave me a point of view as to why that might work for me. But also, this is all anecdotal, so it kind of doesn't matter whether or not I found research to back up what I feel, because I'm not presenting this as like a thesis statement. Here's the major con that I'll get into before I get into all the pros. But there's a solution to the major con. The major con is my handwriting is shit. If I slow down, my handwriting is actually quite lovely. But like, I grew up when we had to learn cursive, and I'm also living in a era where you don't handwrite that much. And so sometimes my brain will do half cursive. It gives very much doctor signature, and it's become even difficult for me to read. So like, this is the first page of chapter 3. Because chapter 1 I had written up for class at one point, and chapter 2 something else. But so this is the first like official chapter that I'm writing. Can you see this? If you can read it, kudos to you, because I've been in the process of like taking this and putting it into the new notebook, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I said. This is a lot of yap, and a lot of it I don't understand what I wrote. Like, I don't understand what I wrote. It's a handwriting issue. And so if you are someone that struggles with handwriting or struggles with reading your own writing and slowing down to write neat, this is going to be a thing. However, my teacher right now that runs that generative class, one of the people that in my life that writes by hand, said, I think someone in class also articulated that their handwriting was bad, so they don't want to, And she was like, I'm paraphrasing severely, she's not this flippant, but she basically was just like, okay, well, learn how to handwrite. She was basically just like, in order to be good at your craft, and if you're someone that wants to improve your craft, and you know that for you, writing and handwriting could improve your craft, then it's okay to say, I need to get better at handwriting. Like, there's a bunch of little tiny skills that are involved in the art of writing that goes above and beyond just knowing how to plot well and how to do dialogue. There's a lot of little motor functional skills that we can learn as writers to become better writers. And so her thing was like, okay, well, be better, like get better. And I was like, you're right. Despite that being probably the biggest con for me, there's a solution to that. And that's just, it's gonna take practice. Like, who knew at 30 something as a writer in 2026, I would be practicing handwriting just so I could read my own handwriting. And by practice, I'm not gonna like go and do like cursive drills. Like I said, I think I'm a pretty good hand writer. Like, when I write cards, I'm always very proud of my handwriting when I take my time. But writing a paragraph card is not the same thing as like trying to get through a chapter. Like, this is a mess. Like, what the fuck am I talking about? Her hair was not like, what am I even trying to say? This is so awkward. Like, what the fuck? That's something that I'm going to have to work on is handwriting. Once I kind of make the commitment and bought this notebook, and I'm in the process of like rewriting what I wrote, this is my handwriting now. And I'm kind of getting out of cursive as much as I can because it gets a little tricky. But this is the handwriting now. I hope you can see that. But it's taking me much longer to do because I'm not scribble scrabble handwriting it. But yeah, so that's the major challenge of handwriting. Yes, your hands is gonna hurt. Yes, it's gonna be hard to read. Yes, I think handwriting is a skill that we should get. Again, anecdotal, not a thesis. I'm not gonna sit here and say that we should all get good at, but I think for me, it's a useful skill, and I'm willing to take the extra time to handwrite. So here's how it's working for me so far. So the first thing that I noticed is writing slows you down. And this is kind of where my researching on this started. Writing slows my thinking down, but writing allows my body to catch up with my mind. Handwriting slows the entire process down enough for there to, it's like a weird connection that happens that I missed when I'm typing on the keyboard. When I'm staring at the abyss of a Word document and the blinking cursor of death, like, I could know that I'm about to write a paragraph about a cat staring at the sky that's reminiscent of Van Gogh's Starry Night, you know, in the middle of an apocalypse. I don't know. And I can see that scene, and I know the first few sentences that I'm gonna type out, or I kind of know the like opening few moments that I'm trying to get to. It takes time for me to imagine and daydream and find the right words and craft what I really want to say. But when you're at the laptop, for me, it becomes about speed, because every moment that I'm not clickety clack writing is a moment that I'm at risk of going on Twitter, doing anything else. I'm more distracted. And so when I sit down at my laptop, I almost feel the itch to go, right. And so as soon as I begin typing whatever it is that I do know that I want to say, I can only think so fast. My brain might know, like, okay, the first sentence is we're gonna start on the back, a close-up of the back of a black cat who's staring out at this big yellow star that's like eclipsing the sky. And so I begin kind of typing what I think that looks like. But at a certain point, my fingers have already typed, we're on the back of a cat who's done this. And my brain is still trying to figure out, but yeah, how am I gonna articulate that this is a giant bomb exploding in the distance of this beautiful night sky? And so I just kind of start spitting things out, like, you know, it's kind of like you're just trying to like get things going because you're typing and your hand is waiting and your body has started that process. So your brain is like kind of desperately scrambling to like, okay, well, fuck it. Like, you're just making choices. You don't really, for me, I'm not really slowing and being intentional about each word being typed. I'm kind of just trying to keep the process going and just like making choices. Because fuck it. I can always go back and erase that sentence. Fuck it. The wrong word, I'll figure it out later. Like, let's just go. Let's just get it down, you know? And so that speed and that like weird competition that I feel between my hand and my brain and desperately trying to keep the train running so I don't end up distracted with the computer or feeling like shit because I'm not typing is where the choices die. Like, I feel like I am not as an intentional writer. It becomes really hard to feel motivated to keep writing because at least 45% of that time I'm gonna sit being like this as I try to figure out the next word, and that doesn't feel good. I hope I'm making any sense. And I think because I'm doing prose, which feels still kind of new to my head, objective point of view, which is new-ish for me when it comes to prose. Genre, horror, visceral, it's supposed to be nasty and I'm trying to evoke emotion. It's a lot to try to cram from my brain into my fingers and into some kind of like functional word at the speed of light. I think it makes my word choices a bit sloppy. I think I noticed that I end up getting very repetitive because it's like, I gotta write the sentence. Like, okay, just use the word very. Like, let's not look at adjective. Word choice and sentence structure, it takes me a little bit to pull the bins of words down from my brain for whatever reason into like what I want to say. But it's very difficult for me to pull things and make it very succinct, and I think in images. And so when I don't have time to like go slow and I'm just trying to like burst out the writing with typing, I don't have a second to be choosy with my words or to like let the bins sort through the different choices that I can make. It's very this, it's very that, it's very that, it's very that. And you end up seeing the same words like repeated, and I don't know how to distinguish what I'm saying because I'm just trying to get it out. So then I started to handwrite and things kind of changed a little bit. My mind had time to catch up with my hand. There's this article that I think, or journalistic article, I guess, where a lot of people cite it when they talk about handwriting versus typewriting or typing. And it's called The Pen is Mightier Than the Keyboard. And it's kind of one of the most referenced ones, at least online, when it comes to like the cognitive benefits and how your brain functions on typing, handwriting versus on typing, but it talks about the cognitive process between handwriting and typing is much different. You're using motor skills when you write. And because you're so connected with the hand thought process, you form a different kind of memory. One of the 3 studies that they talked about in this study was students who were asked to like synthesize and retell a lesson in their own words without using verbatim examples that a professor or the instructor gave. People who hand wrote were a bit more successful at that than people who typed it up, who it seemed that they kind of fell back on more of like the verbatim, the quotes, like that's kind of where they struggled the most. It's argued that their handwriting, because it's so tied to like the motor functions, and there's more of a sensory thing there tied into like the processing between this is the letter that I'm trying to say, this is the letter that I'm trying to write, and that letter corresponds to this word, and this word corresponds to this meaning, and I'm trying to make meaning out of these particular words that I'm writing out. That slower transcription speed leads to a different way of processing the material. I can't say that it's better or worse for everyone, but I know for me, because I'm moving slower, it feels as if I'm able to articulate what I'm trying to say a bit better when I'm writing, because there's a deep relational thing between me holding the pen. In my mind, I'm pushing out, this is the word that I'm trying to spell, this is the letter that I'm trying to write. There's something very granular that I'm working with, and that just gives me time to think about the next thing. I have to operate much slower, which allows me to pull out the right words and pause the pen and think a little bit. I'm making a bit stricter choices. I have time to kind of find the words that I'm looking for and play around with other words in my mind. And because, I don't want to necessarily be scratching things out too much, I take my time to write sentences, and it feels less hurried than it does at the laptop, where taking my time to write sentences, it's like I'm like fighting the clock before I go click on Twitter. This kind of feels like all a part of the process of like writing. You write slow, and it's like, okay, how can I describe that word in my head? Okay, I can say it's chartreuse. There's just like a stronger level of commitment that I feel with the work when I'm going super fucking slow. The second thing is access to creativity that I can play with the margins of the page. So for example, because I'm writing objective, I have to figure out how to describe things in a very disinterested and non-judgmental way. I have to write a bomb scene, right? And so I'm like, how the fuck do I do that? So I'm writing what the character is experiencing, and then up in the margins, I'm drawing planes so I can kind of understand like what it is that I want to evoke. I don't know if you can see, but it's like, this is gonna be a moment where it's happening, but like, I'm like drawing little cartoons, like this is the bomb hitting. Like it's when I'm stuck for words and I can't figure out how to like use words to continue forward, I'm like, oh, I can just draw. And obviously I'll have to go back and fix it, but just to get the story forward, sometimes the description of the bomb hitting the thing is not what's important. It's the feeling that I'm trying to evoke behind it. Drawing the bomb hitting the town, instead of getting stuck on that, because I drew it, I found my attention drawn to like a ladybug who was nearby as the thing was hitting, and like how it kind of flew away off of a little leaf because it faced the impact. It allows me to play around with my manuscript more than I could if it was just straight computer. Also in the margins, this, you're not gonna be able to read it, but this is a introduction of a friend group, and because this is the manuscript and it's objective, I don't say, and this is Octavia who da 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 da. I'm describing someone by what they wear and how their actions are. On the side here, I have like the descriptions of like, this is who this person represents, this is who they are, like for myself, that I wrote as I was writing so I can understand and make a mental note. But it's just been nice for me to kind of have two versions of my brain talking back and forth, the actual text and how my brain is processing that text and how I can use it to move forward. So I don't know if you can see the sides. I also have it here at the bottom. I'm writing little notes to myself when I kind of want to just keep going. Just some notes to like look back at on myself. It's like I'm reflecting at the same time that I'm writing. It's been kind of nice, and then I can go back into it later when I'm rewriting or whatever and kind of edit myself. And I think writing down my own notes to myself is also a great way to kind of process and memorize the intention and the tone behind what I'm trying to write. While I'm handwriting, I can address the things that I will need to edit in the future with my raw thoughts, so I can continue as is, and I can come back and I can trust that I can look back at what I wrote and figure out what needs to be done. I feel like I'm in control of my manuscript now. Like, I can do whatever I want. If I want to do it entirely in fucking wingdings, I guess I could, you know? Like, it's very freeing. And then finally, I think I've enjoyed the process of bringing a notebook around with me and being able to jot down a few sentences a little bit more. There's just something fun about that. I can just pull out my notebook and write down a few